Talmoana, my fellow exiles, Talkative Try here, back with another Path of Exile 2 video. The news from Gamescom about PoE2 continues to roll out, and this video has absolutely all of it. We're going to start off with an interview from a Korean YouTube channel that contains information about PoE2 Endgame, the campaign, and more early access info. Then we're going to talk a little bit more about the Maurice Gamestar interview and some crazy implications on area design from it. Then we have a bunch of information about the passive skill tree and new PoE2 game info tidbits. Then we're going to look at every single skill that was available in the game demo for Path of Exile 2 at Gamescom and what we know about them and what we don't know, plus some other juicy gem information. And then we're going to end the video with what is next. If you want all the latest Path of Exile 2 information and you don't want to look at Twitter and Reddit and Discord and other YouTube channels, make sure that you just subscribe to Talkative Try, because I'm going to have absolutely everything PoE2 related on this channel from now until release and beyond. This is a channel all about Path of Exile 2 and positivity. Let's begin with the Korean interview breakdown. Now, they talked about endgame systems and the fact that multiple will be shown. That's plural. So we know mapping is going to be a part of PoE2's endgame, but what could the other ones be? Let me know in the comments below. My guesses truly are mapping, delve, heist, and some other new mechanic only in Path of Exile 2. Now, I would love an arena horde style mode in PoE2. I think it would be dope, but I know lots of other people have other ideas like the Forbidden Sanctum making appearance or something completely new in the game. Next, they reiterated that right now they are mainly working on endgame. They want to completely blast away the trope of ARPGs releasing with a poor endgame. They want to blow other games out of the water even on their early access release. Right now, they are 100% focused on building out the endgame. That means that the campaign is done. That means most of that content is good. So the entire studio, the team that's working on PoE2, is working on the endgame. And they said that they would likely be showcasing that endgame closer to November than now. And once again, they will show multiple systems. Jonathan in this interview reiterated that you should be an absolute god during endgame, but the game should retain visual clarity. The power fantasy of 50 bolts flying is not there anymore. There will be 5, that's just an example, but you will feel like there are 50. That's the strength that you will be exuding when you are at endgame. They want you to be able to read the game properly. They do not want it to turn it into the absolute effect fest that we see in Path of Exile and frankly Diablo, Last Epoch, really every single other ARPG out there that is loot-based. I'm not going to talk about No Rest for the Wicked here because it doesn't have that problem. It's a very different isometric ARPG compared to the other titles we've been talking about. They do not want to replicate all the issues that people have constantly pointed out. And I applaud them for it. I'm really looking forward to how that's going to actually play out. Next, they also reiterated that 1 or 2 button builds will work during endgame because there's a lot of automation still in Path of Exile 2, but there will be sacrifices mainly in terms of DPS. They are incentivizing people, even at endgame, to combo different abilities together to set up certain abilities because you will get this massive payoff, as we've seen with stuff as simple as the bear casting the volcano on the boss and then rampaging around it and getting massive damage bursts from all the fireballs that fly out from the volcanoes from slamming down on them with every single tap of the bear's paws. I loved hearing about endgame and that they're completely fixated on it right now, and they are very tight-lipped because they're making sure it's all in a good spot before they showcase it closer to that November 15th early access reveal. I really want to go into deep speculation on what the endgame will look like, but we'll save that for a later time. Let's stick to the facts right now. And next, we're going to talk about the campaign because we learned some awesome new stuff about the campaign in this Korean interview. And that is the fact that the campaign is 5.5 acts because Act 6 is about half the size of the other acts before it, which is very, very interesting. The length of the campaign in PoE2 is about the same as Path of Exile 1. However, Jonathan thinks the latter half of PoE1's campaign is lower quality. PoE2 keeps the incredible design all the way through. Jonathan is 100% right here. The campaign quality dips in PoE1 once you beat Katava for the first time. They start reusing assets a ton, even the same areas. The story takes a dip, in my opinion. Apologies, lore writers. A lot of stuff drops in quality. In PoE2, they're not letting that quality drop at all. Everything is unique. In fact, Jonathan said that there are 100 areas in the campaign itself, so that brings it to 100 bosses, as they said, 1 boss per area about, and that's about 16 areas per act, with some acts having more, so Act 6 can have less. Additionally, we've only seen gameplay of the Act 1 boss. Let that sink in. We haven't seen any other end bosses yet. All the other showcases are just area bosses, and none of them are endgame bosses. I'm gonna avoid the speculation as to what endgame's gonna look like, but I'm just hyping myself up. I'm so excited to see what they have planned. Next, Jonathan reiterated that early access is at a minimum going to be 6 months, but it could be longer than that. So we're looking at a May or June potential 1.0 release, or if they want to go a full year, I'd say, December 2025 for the full release, or they could go for I think it's the 11th year anniversary or the 12th year anniversary of PoE1 releasing, which is October 23rd, I believe. But I think they'll go for more around the holiday time because you can sell those sweet, sweet supporter packs, which I'm sure will be coming out soon for the early access release date. And on that, there's still no news on how to access early access, just that it is playable on November 15th. I think this is going to be the next piece of information that they actually begin to talk about because everyone is just so hungry for it. I'm shocked that they didn't release something on the reveal of the release date, because that would have assuaged a lot of concerns that the community had. Or not concerns, just the excitement, just knowing how you can get in and that you will be able to get in will make a lot of people feel much better, including myself. Also, the plan is to do a league every 3 months for PoE1 and PoE2, with about a month staggered between the releases between the two games. Unless there was a ton of overlap between audiences, then the leagues might be a little longer, and they're going to be able to measure that data exactly. They want to make sure that people aren't completely burning out on Path of Exile as a franchise. We're going to have PoE1 and PoE2 running concurrently, and if the gameplay audiences intersect, they're going to strategically release stuff so that people are playing the maximum amount of time, because that means that they will spend more time in game, they will buy more stuff, and GGG will be able to grow bigger, bigger, and bigger. So they hope there's going to be a 1 month stagger and that they're going to be able to consistently release these updates, but there's no finalized plan yet. However, the PoE1 team is very small, according to Jonathan, compared to the PoE2 team. Once they finish PoE2, they will be able to swap between them both. People can bounce from one team, then go to the other team. If they're dry on ideas for one game, they can hop to another game. Maybe the PoE1 devs are going to be like, hey, there's this awesome stuff we think you could implement into Path of Exile 2, and then the PoE2 team will go back to the PoE1 team, and vice versa. It's going to be a very beautiful environment, and I just can't wait to see how it all plays out on their end for us, the players. That was it in the Korean interview that was new. There were some extra stuff in there. If you'd like to listen to it, it's about 9 minutes, and the source will be in the description below. But now we're going to get to some random new tidbits about Path of Exile 2 that someone from the ground actually gave us, and I found this on Reddit from user TightAd2047. This user also asked how come there has not been much more info on mines and traps, only briefly in 2019, and if they still want to have an archetype with traps as their focus, or if it's more of a utility thing since it's related to offhands. Paraphrasing them, there hasn't been much because they are still iterating on the design of traps. It can just be utility, but there is definitely going to be a trap-only archetype, like the Saboteur from Path of Exile 1. That's me saying that. When asked when we can expect more about it, close to the early access release, so very likely there's no new showcases of PoE2 stuff until November. Now that's that person's opinion. I very much doubt that. I think we're going to get drops both at PAX and then in September and then in October and then a ton in November leading up to the 15th. Next up from this user, PAX West is going to have the exact same demo available as Gamescom. Interesting. I still think they can release a little bit new information there in interviews and the like. There are no suppression chance nodes on the tree. Now, this is something that we're going back and forth on. Is spell suppression still existing? Is it not existing? In the Ziggy D interview, They claimed that they had recently changed the fact that monster attacks against players will no longer count as attacks and spells. They're just purely attacks. So is spell suppression still a thing or not? A lot of people say it is. A lot of people say it isn't. We need some final confirmation from the developers on that. Next, the Keystone Ancestral Bond causes your totems to always have a spirit cost of 50, but you can have unlimited totems. This also means that totems reserve your spirit, just like an aura. That's interesting. The Keystone Unwavering Stance causes you to have 100% stun and block recovery rate, but your dodge roll is disabled. And then you can cosplay as a Path of Exile 1 character, right? That's cool. There are no passive skill nodes that contain the word additional, like additional strike range or projectiles on the passive skill tree. The closed beta access, the one that just ended on August 22nd, was random selection, not hardware related like some, Talkative try, speculated. There is going to be a new closed beta in the upcoming weeks, and it will be again random selection. Oh, I hope my account, my wife's account, my dad's account, my brother's account, someone's account is selected. I totally won't play on them. I totally won't play on them. Totally won't happen. They then asked if there was any achievement we could do at Gamescom to grant us access to the closed beta, like beating all the available mini-bosses at the demo. Answer was negative, but that would have been a cool Easter egg. And then finally, unrelated, this person says, I've spent a lot of time watching people play the game, and there was a very large portion of people that kept dying and dying and dying and dying, and they just got up and left. The game's brutally and unapologetically overtuned. This problem is more accentuated when I tried to play couch co-op with my brother. Monsters get a damage buff, and a pack of 3 wolves will kill you in 0.3 seconds if you just let one hit you, because the first is going to stagger you, making the other 2 wolves also hit you, and since for some reason they deal 40% of your hit points in one bite, you just die. Okay, well, that's very interesting. I believe the first thing, the fact that people were leaving because it's so hard, especially because you're being thrust into a situation where you didn't build your character from the ground up. You might log on to the level 22 character and get into a tough boss fight, die on it 5 times in a row, and then give up. You're at a Gamescom place anyway. You might never play ARPGs or any Souls-like. That might totally happen. So it is tough, guys. It is tough, but I hope they leave it difficult for the early access release. Next up, I want to talk about something that I did not point out in my last video about the Maurice Weber Gamestar interview. And this is something that could divide the entire Path of Exile community based on how Grinding Gear Games continues to develop it. Let's roll the clip.
Now this area actually is kind of interesting because there's some people here who have been experimenting with trying to harness the power of the sun. Then they created this artificial sun in the distance over here. But as you get close to it, you're going to start taking damage if you're in the light. When the cataclysm occurred, all of them went crazy and started worshipping the sun that they had created. So they've kind of got this cult of the sun here. So yeah, if you stand out here, you start taking damage.
I noticed. All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, this facet of design could be awesome. The fact this artificial sun creates areas that are essentially ground degens from Path of Exile 1 throughout the map, but it's thematic. This could be awesome. I love the theming, and if translated to maps, this could make some kind of different mapping system wherein some maps or environments or tile sets are more difficult. Maybe they have better rewards or something, or greater density, or they reward better divination cards if those end up in Path of Exile 2. Or this could be absolutely hated. People hate ground dots in PoE1 when they're on packs. I don't know what I'm like. The thematic of it is awesome though. What do you guys think? Can you let me know in the comments below? Imagine this being built out to more different tile sets in Path of Exile 2. This particular one is great, but it can be used for poison, it can be used for cold, other fire instances and the like. I like it. I really do like it, but I can see where people might absolutely despise it. Now, a new piece of information on skill gem leveling, or at least the fact that gem XP is not a thing anymore. You level up gems from uncut gems now. So you have to find uncut gems and you use them to level up your gems. You don't just gain XP from killing monsters, it seems like anymore, at least for skill gems, because it looks like support gems don't seem to have a gem level. They have a required level for the character to be, but we don't see any level on them. And we're not leveling them up throughout the course of gameplay. They might inherit this skill gem level, and that's how they grow in power, but nothing there is confirmed. This is an interesting development of this system, and it's turning uncut gems into a real piece of currency. Killing monsters is going to get you items and experience for your character, but leveling up gems is now done through something that I think you should be able to trade with other players, which is wild reaching. Okay, now we're going to look at all the class skill gems that we currently have access to and saw in the Gamescom demo, and they include Occult, Mace, Elemental, Quarterstaff, Bow, Spear, Crossbow. So we're going to scroll through them right now and point out any interesting ones. Beginning with Occult, and this is the witch summoning curses and chaos spells and the like. I just want to count the number of skeletons we have here. We have a warrior 1, sniper 2, arsonist 3, frost mage 4. Then we have another one here, reaver 5, storm mage 6, and cleric 7, brute 8. 8 different types of skeletons just on this tree alone. And it's very interesting. We can study this first tree just a little bit right now. What's missing from here? 1, the even numbered gem tiers. So in Path of Exile 2, gems have tiers. The higher the tier, the more powerful the skill gem. We're seeing up to, oh gosh, I think this is tier 13, but my Roman numerals, dad brain right now, super dad brain. They're a little mixed up. We have up to tier 13. We're missing 2, 4, 6, and all the rest of the even tiers. Now, I'm pretty sure that there are even tiered gems, so they just might be hiding a great deal of skill gems from us right now. We know that the goal is to have at least 240 skill gems, that's not including support gems, in the game on the launch of early access. So we'll definitely be seeing more here. I see 2 particular skills that I know people will be very excited about, especially Path of Exile 1 players, and that's Detonate Dead right here, a level 7 gem, and then Hex Blast right here, a tier 11 gem. I don't think we've seen either of those in actual gameplay for Path of Exile 2 yet. Maybe we will very soon. All right, let's go to the next one right here, and this is the Mace skill gems. We actually went through all these on a former video. I do want to point out Ancestral Warrior Totem. We've still not seen anything related to it, and it's a tier 13 gem, so it's probably incredibly powerful. We also see Spinning Inferno right here, which might be Cyclone for Mace skills, so I'm really excited to see that as well. Hammer of the Gods was demonstrated quite a few times, and it's utterly ridiculous. Just a bit of speculation on what Ancestral Warrior Totem will be. I think it might be the summon for Mace users. Imagine you're summoning a mirror of yourself, an ancestral spirit of yourself that is attached to the totem in some way, maybe in a great area, that actually moves around and copies the skills that you use. I think that would be pretty awesome. It wouldn't be super similar to the Path of Exile 1 version that was just removed from the game. They definitely aren't going to put that exactly in, but given it's tier 13, I'm guessing it's a very powerful skill gem. Let's move to the next set right here, and this is Elemental. Remember, we are getting skills from staves themselves in Path of Exile 2, and we're getting elemental gems. So right here, I think we've seen almost all of these in action at one time or another. Interesting to see that Fireball is a tier 9 gem. We have Lightning Warp. We haven't seen that one. Frost Bomb is in the game as well. We see Frostwall, Hypothermia, some curses here. Comet, we've seen Firestorm, we've seen Lightning Conduit is a tier 11 gem. Very interesting. I don't see any tier 13 gems here. They didn't scroll. How unfortunate. Cool to see that Flame Wall is a tier 1 gem. Very early on, you're going to get that and be able to combo it with Spark or other spells. Next, we're going to go to not the dagger. I know that this is hovering over the dagger. We'll get to daggers in a moment, actually. This is the Quarterstaff or the Monk skills. Now, once again, we've seen a lot of these skills before because the monk has been so at the forefront of showcasing the Path of Exile 2 combat system. One that I don't think that I've seen at all is it Wave of Frost? I don't think we've seen that. We've seen a lot of frost-based skills like Glacial Cascade and Frozen Locust, but I don't remember seeing Wave of Frost or Charged Staff. All the rest, we have definitely seen. Glad to see that Tempest Bell is still in there at tier 3. What a powerful skill gem that was when I used it. Now we're over to the bow. And once again, I think we've seen almost all of these. Actually, we have seen every single one of these skill gems here, including Detonating Arrow, Gas Arrow, Electrocuting Arrow. All these have been showcased in the past, so we'll scope right on over to the Spear. Now, the Spear, we've also seen almost everything here. We haven't seen Infusing Strike. I don't think we've seen Spear Mine either. There's also this prefix right here, DNT. I'm not sure what that stands for. Maybe Do Not Test or something along those lines. Sandstorm Swipe. Yeah, I believe we've seen that too. Yeah, everything here has been seen. And we can close everything out with the crossbow skills. A lot of unknowns in the latter half right here. I think there's going to be a flamethrower reveal or something. How rad would that be? But it seems like the mercenary was very well received by most people playing it. The way that they changed the ammunition system to work, where you don't need different crossbows for, the shotgun or the machine gun or the single massive sniper shot, really sat well with people. And the fact that now you're just swapping between different elements and the like with the skill gems really sits well with people, and it makes mercenaries flow much better. I'm super excited to see what these are exactly and how Glacial Bolt differs from something like Ice Shards or Permafrost Bolts. I don't think anybody got to test out these higher level tier gems, but hopefully we'll see them soon. So as we pointed out before, we are missing even tier skill gems. We're also missing the following gem types: Sword, Dagger, Primal, Flail, and Axe. Those were all listed, so we'll definitely be getting skill gems of those types. Sword is going to be attached to the Duelist, Dagger most likely the Shadow, Primal of course is the Druid, Flail is the Templar, Axe is the Marauder. Then there were some non-listed weapon types or archetypes that I thought would be in the game, and I'm sure will be. We haven't heard anything about them being removed, especially since we talked about traps earlier. Those are Claw, Traps/Mines, Focuses, and Unarmed. And I know Unarmed can be bunched in with the Quarterstaff. There are a lot of unarmed skills there. But seeing that we do have Fist, and it's now supportable because it's a default attack, I think we might get some unarmed skills in there, really play on the monk fantasy, unless the monk is going to have an exclusive ascendancy related around using unarmed skills or transforming certain skills to be unarmed. There might be a few more Gamescom interviews flowing out over the next few days, but if there's nothing else from Gamescom, GGG and Path of Exile 2 will be at PAX West between August 30th and September 2nd. Hopefully we'll get some more news dropped then, even if it's just a little bit about new systems or systems that have been iterated on. Also, Ziggy D had an interview about the campaign specifically in Path of Exile 2, and that should be dropping at any moment now. Like I said before, you can watch for info everywhere on Reddit, Twitter, Discord, or other YouTube channels, or you can just subscribe to Talkative Try here on YouTube. I'll get all the best info to you in a concise, clear manner as quickly as possible, with positive vibes flowing all the way through. Anyways, that's all for this video today. Thank you so much for watching. Talakura, my fellow exile.